I was thinking, it's been a long time since we've got something running. So I was searching around, trying to find different tractors or whatever I could fit to get running again. And I came across something, and it was just perfect. I knew it would kind of encapsulate what I wanted. So I figured Dodge. I was searching around on Facebook looking at tractors and things of that nature, and I came across this D150. It was only $800, and all they claimed it had was electrical issues, but there were a whole bunch of new parts on it. So first and foremost, it has new tires all around. They don't really match, but it's also not a four-wheel drive, so I feel like it's not as important, but we will take care of that later. The tires had been holding air. I haven't put any air in them. The motor's in pretty good shape, at least visibly. The oil's black, it needs changed. There isn't the original air filter, but I figure that's small. It really only has a wiring issue, and that's what we're about to mess around with and see if we can figure out the solution to. I don't have the most time today, so we may not spend a whole lot of time on it, but we will get to work on it and all. But interior-wise, it's not the best, but it's not the worst. The dash is in pretty good shape, and a lot of these dashes are old and cracked and everything, but the seat's a little rough. But the foam's in decent shape. So I'm thinking, I've already done some research into reupholstering it, put a new seat cover over it. It's really not that expensive, and hopefully putting some new carpet and stuff in. The floorboards are pretty rusted, I will say, and we will have to do something about that at a later date, but for now, I'm just worried about getting it drivable. The gauges and stuff are in pretty good shape. It was an AC function, like it had the AC option. I don't believe it still has the AC compressor on it from what I've looked, but I really haven't been able to give it a good look over. And just overall, it's not in too bad of shape, which is nice. The body is very solid. The frame is very clean, which I'm very happy about. The bed needs cleaned out, but the bed's in pretty good shape. It does, as you guys can see, probably. It does have some rust spots and holes through it and everything. But the frame and stuff is the main thing that I was worried about. So today, I set the battery on the charger all night last night. I don't think I'll be able to try to get it to crank with the key, but I may be able to get it to crank by crossing some connections and all inside of it. It really shouldn't take a whole lot to get it running. I've watched a lot of videos and things. I've personally never had a truck this old. My old Dakota was probably the closest I've come to this. And that was only a 92. This is a carbureted motor. It's a 318, the V8, with a whopping 140 horsepower. But I think it has like 250 pound-feet of torque. Correct me if I'm wrong. So we're just going to see if we can get it to turn over. I feel like it's been ran recently, like not as recently as maybe I'd prefer, but the fluids are good, everything in it's good. The transmission fluid's cherry red, so I'm just hoping it really doesn't take that much. So we're gonna set the camera up and then see if we can get this over here at least to turn over. That's my preference. So before we get going, let's test for a few things. If the main thing is electricity, we need to make sure that power is actually going to things, and this battery very well could be bad. It's reading 13.2, which I feel like that's probably right around where it should be reading. Now the main thing is to check to make sure grounds are good and stuff. So, I don't know if you guys can see, but one wire came undone with one of the butt connectors. The lights are now on. All right, which is, in my opinion, a good sign. Let's see. I don't see anything else on. Okay, so the lights are on. I don't see any turn signals. Yeah, there's no turn signal. Doesn't appear to me, at least. But, you know, it's better than nothing. Let's see if these come on. No. That's not on. Is this on? Okay, so Bryce one. Now it looks like, I don't believe that gauge was in the center before. I could be entirely wrong. Okay, so we'll turn those off quick, and I guess see what else we can figure out here. Nice thing is I do electrical quite frequently, so this really shouldn't be that big of a deal. I believe all the wires run through there. It doesn't seem like there's one specific connector in that fuse box. You know what I'm saying? There's a big wad of wires that go in. Maybe I should start testing this connector out here.
Right, but so like in a hydraulic switch box, you've got 10 switches, right? But like the wires coming into the fuse box, if they weren't encased in like casing, it would look like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But if you have a main power coming into the box,
yeah,
it's going to go to one switch and then jump to the next one, jump to the next one, jump to the next one, jump to the next one.
Gotcha.
And then the function on the other side of that switch is everything else.
Gotcha.
Right? So with a fuse box, you've got one of these wires running into that fuse box that gives 12 volts to the box itself.
I wonder if any of that could be a symptom of this not being.
But trying to figure out what the main power to that box is. And it could have two. It could have two main powers that are coming in.
Okay.
You know, because one main power could be a constant, and the second main power could be an accessory.
Okay.
But you've got to have one of the two coming into that box.
Gotcha.
Which, like I said, you've got headlight function, taillight function. What was the other one? Or is that it? Oh, license plate light function.
And there were brakes. The brake lights.
Yeah, with taillight, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I didn't think of the running lights. I didn't look at those.
They are. Well, at least these orange ones will come
So
on.
those are on the hot circuit, always.
Gotcha.
So you should be able to turn those on right now,
Gotcha.
right?
Yeah.
So the accessory power that's going into that box,
That's,
when you turn the switch,
yeah.
is the rest of that shit. So it would be your blower motor, your radio,
Yeah.
stuff like that. those are just things that I would start with, because if you're testing everywhere else, but your main power is fucked from here to that,
Yeah.
you ain't gonna get nothing until you figure out what's going on from here to there.
So I wonder if that wire that it's not connected very well.
Could you jump it?
What?
Are you sure it's touching right now? Do I need to hold it?
There's not really much wire left. It's this kind of, there's nothing really, I don't know if I should just run another wire to it from the dang power. Like, obviously at some point I'll just have to cut that whole thing out of there.
Right. I'm gonna hold it firmly.
Okay.
See what happens.
Wait, did it actually get hot?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, no, it didn't get hot, but it started smoking.
That one right there started smoking.
Yes. Which is good to know. So, that,
Since it's such a small connection,
but it also started smoking right here as well.
so it's probably not good for that.
That part I don't know, because
There's that ground there. I wonder why they added that.
so, where's that going? So with that touching, that's why it's broken apart.
Is it burnt?
Yes. So this and
Well, there must have been another wire there
that. So is the switch on?
No, it's off there.
Turn the switch on and then come back up here and touch that wire together and let me watch. It ain't gonna shock you. I just let go of it before it fucking... It's done tried to weld itself right there.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. So what is that?
I'm not entirely sure.
You need to pull a schematic on this truck. Trace some stuff. That is going to those fusible links. But if they were bad, wouldn't it not be doing anything?
Yeah.
There's something going on. It's sending current somewhere.
Yes. Alright, so today I have a little bit of time to work on this. I really haven't had much time in the last week or whatnot. So today we're going to try to clean up some of these connections. So if you guys see here, it's kind of roughly in there. It's not placed in there very well. We're going to clean that up. We're going to clean this up. And on top of that, I bought kind of like a, I forget what it's called, but it's like a distribution block. I'm going to mount it maybe somewhere in here or whatnot. And essentially, rather than having 15 of these wires kind of running to this, we'll have to keep this main wire obviously because that runs directly to the starter, but then we'll take like a 10 gauge wire, have it run to this distribution block right here, maybe even higher, it may be like a 6 gauge wire I'm thinking. Have a 6 gauge wire run to this distribution block from here, so there's only 2 wires in here for the most part, and then considering one of these is burnt off, I was just going to replace this, and at some point I still might with some type of fuse box, maybe mount it in here, but we got to use those square fusible link type replacements. For now, we'll just keep using it. I believe this is the original wire to this. I think this is added wire, but this should be the this should be the original wire, and I believe this is a fusible link as well. I believe this whole thing is supposed to be a fusible link. So for the moment, mount that to the distribution block right here. This wire, I believe, is the main ignition wire. This will be ran to there, and just any other wires we find that should be to the power. Unfortunately, it's raining, so maybe I won't be able to work on this a whole lot today. But we're going to try. Distribution block isn't here yet, so I'm thinking what I'll do for the moment, as long as it doesn't get too much worse, is I'll clean up a lot of these connections and stuff. I bought some of the things used for electrical wire to kind of twist wires. We don't normally use them like professionally on customers' vehicles or anything like that, but I'm going to use them today so I don't have to crimp 15 wires and then uncrimp them and everything else. I just kind of want to get a baseline. So I'm starting to believe, from our testing the other day, it just has a bad ground. I think it's trying to send too much through this ground wire. I think this ground spot right here just needs cleaned up. Like this is where it was connected. This is the shape it's in. It's just not in very good shape. So I actually have like a 6-gauge wire from an amp kit, and I think I'm gonna use that for the moment for the ground. Maybe ground it here. I bought a few ground straps. We'll run some ground straps as well to kind of clean it up and everything, just to give it more grounds. I feel like you can't have too many grounds, and I really think that the issue we're having right now is poor connections and bad grounds. So I'm thinking if I clean up some of these grounds and things and just go from there, that we should be good to go, or I'd like to at the very least think we will be. So we're just going to kind of mess around with that and go from there. There's a lot of wires that just aren't connected very well, and I think that has to do with most of the issue. And maybe there is a break in the wire somewhere where it's grounding out or something, but in reality, like, the wiring is in, like, to an extent, rough shape, just because things aren't labeled, things aren't organized. But I can like get some zip ties, organize them a lot. I'd like to figure out where some of these wires are supposed to go. The guy had mentioned something about this motor. So it's a 318 motor. It's the V8 that's supposed to be in this truck based on the serial number. But I question if he said something about maybe this motor was taken out of a car or something. I don't know what motors or what cars this motor was put into, but we're going to try to do some investigation, try to figure things out. I don't care if the motor's not supposed to be one that was in here. It's carbureted, it's V8, it works. I'm not using this truck to pull 8,000 pounds. Like, I have my Sierra in great shape. This is just like kind of a little like putzing around truck, like to use driving and hauling tractors and stuff of that nature, to just have something to mess around with. So let's see if we can make any progress on this today, just cleaning stuff up. That would be nice. It looks like it has new brake, the rubber brake hoses on it, which I do believe I'm gonna have to bleed the brakes at some point. And I'm hoping the gas tank doesn't have too much varnish or anything in it, because I'm gonna have to figure out how to clean all that out as well. So we'll start cleaning these up. All right, everybody, so it's starting to get dark out. I had an emergency, so I really wasn't able to work on it that much. I cleaned up the negative wire this morning, the negative terminal, and I had to go do some video work and everything. And when I got home, normally by 4 or so, I'm just ready to go shower, but I really just wanted to spend a little bit of time on it and all. So we cleaned up a little bit. So the new negative one, I took some of this 8-gauge wire that I had. Mind you, I believe this was one of the factory wires. Look at how thin that is compared to this. So I beefed it up a little bit. I figure it's not gonna hurt anything to have a bigger ground on it. We put them cleanly in here, and I taped it up just for safety measures and all. And then the positive we cleaned up quite a bit as well. Normally this wire was at least the wire that was on it was much thinner than this. This is 8-gauge. It's nearly as thick as this. So we cleaned this up quite a bit, and I taped it up. This one wasn't quite as clean, but it looks a lot better than it did. And then I've been trying to kind of separate and get together the wires that are going to go to the new bar box, or distribution block is what I'll call it. I've been kind of following these wires into the brick in there and stuff. We'll use my light to kind of keep it lit up for you guys. But I've been kind of deciphering which wires which, just for the main wires. After we get it kind of maybe sparking, running, cranking over, that type of stuff, I can worry about everything else. There ain't no point in having a heater box and everything else if the motor doesn't run in the first place to produce any heat. So I went through kind of paying attention to all these wires and things. This, for some reason, this wire that was on the solenoid, this should be coming from the battery right here. This was actually running to the amp meter, which is kind of strange. So they had the starter solenoid powered by one of these wires from the amp meter here that I stretched out. The amp meter I can hook up later. I thought the amp meter should run through the ignition circuit, but I could be wrong. I guess it may be different year to year or whatnot. So we have this red wire. What is this? Okay, so this red wire is for the tachometer that they installed. It's not necessarily necessary. This black wire is for the starter solenoid. It's some wire I had laying around. At some point I'll make it red. I'm just trying to get the stuff usable so it can run and it can work and everything. This wire is leading to the ignition. So this is the ignition wire coming from the battery, and that runs through the ignition. Then it comes out actually this red wire here that is soldered into these other 4 wires right here. that runs to the fuse box, alternator, that kind of stuff. And then we have this wire, which is from the duck foot. And I would have just used the duck foot, not even probably bought a distributor, but it's, the one wire was burnt off of it, if you guys can see. And there's not really a way for me to connect to that. So rather than running all these wires directly to the battery and having this look like a jumbled mess, I decided I'll disconnect them, get this distributor block, run one wire from this to the distributor block, put it right here. I have a breaker that I'm going to throw on the one that's not fused currently, like a resettable breaker. I know you shouldn't replace fusible links with the like maxi fuses, so I've been trying to source a male J-case fuse. While the square ones are technically replacements for fusible links, and at some point I will replace all these fusible links, which actually I noticed this one was blown, so I tried tying it back together for the moment just to get things working. This is not how it's going to be. This is not how I'm going to drive it, nothing of that nature. I'm just trying to figure out what's wrong. I like to believe that the smoking and everything that it had been having was due to this terrible ground. We cleaned this ground up, I sanded it down real well, we put don't want to touch those. I put a thicker wire on it and everything, I put a new end on it and everything, so I'm just hoping that should fix a lot of it. I'd like to add maybe an additional ground somewhere, like drill it into here or something of this nature, but all the other grounds are reading through it and the resistance is good and all. So I don't know if I'm gonna get to this tonight. Amazon was supposed to ship that distribution block. It was supposed to be here today. It's like 8 stops away. I don't know if I feel like staying out here that long, but I just wanted to kind of show you guys the progress that we're making and stuff. It's a totally another day. Last night it started getting dark and my freaking bus bar, I think they call it, I'm just gonna call it a distributor block, wasn't here. So we ordered this just to kind of make it so I can tie everything into one point, which I guess the bad thing is I didn't realize how thick these dang terminal points were. So hopefully that doesn't give us issues, but then again they gave us terminals and stuff that we can put on. So this kit was about 20 bucks, and I bought these separately. I may end up having to use that to tie into here, but I guess we'll see. So let's see what we can do with this. We got all these kind of connected and kind of prettied up a little bit just to kind of get some connection to make it a little bit cleaner. And upon turning the key, this fusible link actually caught fire. It burnt off, so that's disconnected. I looked it up and this actually goes to the ignition switch. So we have the good ground. The ground didn't really give us any issues or anything. It seems like there must be a short somewhere in the ignition or whatnot. So I'm going to try to trace this wire through the box and just see where it goes and everything. Clearly there's something messed up with the ignition switch or something of that nature. So we're going to try to go into it, figure out what this is for, and see if it's touching somewhere or if we're just going to have to replace the ignition switch in general. I'm not fully sure. Yeah, I was hoping it was just a bad ground, like I had said. We may even just jump this just to see and get the motor to crank over and everything. But for the moment, we're going to try to see if we can follow that wire and find anywhere where it's shorting out. Alright, so just to show you guys, so I took this wire, I stuck the multimeter in it, if you guys can see right there, just to see if it's shorting out. So then we connect this wire to here. So I have my multimeter on the ohm meter where it kind of gives off a noise if there's continuity. So it's shorted somewhere, it's touching somewhere. So maybe if we can figure out exactly where that is, that'll fix our issue. But that explains why it kind of burnt itself up. We could fix that, put an end on it and everything if needed, but we need to figure out what's causing that short first. And I guess while we're at it, let's test this real quick just to see. Okay, so testing that other blue wire. I don't get any type of, but let's check real quick. Let me turn the key quick. Okay, so let's try this one more time with this relay with the key switched, because it could just be giving a different reading once it's switched. Yep. So once that's turned on, it's being shorted out to, let's check some of these other wires in here real quick, because that shouldn't be that way. No, maybe it should. All right, let's try disconnecting this wire quick and then seeing if we get anything. No, so it's that wire. Somewhere along the ignition path, it's getting shorted out. Yeah. So somewhere in that blue wire, somewhere inside this wire currently, where's it at? This wire and where's the other wire at? Somewhere these two wires are getting shorted out and both of these go to the ignition. So it could just be a bad ignition switch. I'm not entirely sure. We're gonna check it out and stuff. I will also at some point just jump it just to see, you know, maybe get the motor turned over and stuff. But I don't think we can get things operating until we get the ignition circuit fixed. I'd like to think, because I think the ignition connects to this little computer box right here, and then somewhere in there it does with the coil and the spark and all that good stuff. So, all right, let's see what we can figure out. All right, so after messing with this a little bit and fighting with the rain and everything, I'm not fully sure, but I'm having the hint that the ignition is bad. So when I test this pink wire here, if you follow it through the connector, it's supposed to go to the charging system. But whenever the switch is turned on, this pink wire is grounded out. So if I ground it to something, let's see, we'll ground it to this just for the moment. Just kind of show you guys and provide you guys with an example of what I'm dealing with here. Here. All right, so what's in this pink wire? I go flip the switch. You hear that? It's, for some reason, it's grounding out, and I don't think it's supposed to be doing that, from my understanding. If it's the charging system, it shouldn't be grounding itself out. Now turn off, get it back. And then I'm noticing, so this red wire is that main blue wire that's coming from the engine. When it's not connected, it's not grounded out, like it's fine. But if we connect this to this connector in here, it grounds out too. And I need to find a confirmation to make sure, but why would something that's supposed to go to the positive terminal on the battery be grounding out or connect to ground? That doesn't make any sense. So I'm gonna try to do some research just to make 100% sure, and then maybe go about replacing the ignition switch as well. All right, so I don't know what the last thing that I told you guys or where, because I was running in and out of the house yesterday because it kept raining and blah, 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 and this and that. Plus that sun isn't very, how can I block that? So, I went and I was testing loads of wires. I was testing all the wires going to the dang switch and back into the battery, into the alternator and all that. And what I found is a lot of the wires that are supposed to be having like 12 volts on power were actually grounded out. So there's continuity between the ground in here and the ground out there. And I think I showed you guys that quite a bit. So I got things wired up using that new terminal block and all that stuff that I bought. And then kind of came to, I was blowing fuses. A fire started in the engine bay from one of the fusible links, and it just was not working. And then so I tried bypassing some things, disconnecting some things, just connecting what needed connected. And this actually started smoking. Like something was like inside the steering column, something inside of here started smoking. I was like, what's that smell? So I was going around trying to figure it out or whatever. And I found that it was smoking inside of here. So I was like, well, how much is a new ignition module? So I looked up, found a new ignition module. It's about 30 bucks. I got it through O'Reilly's. 30 bucks, like just to fix it and hopefully not have to deal with that. So the ignition module could be the main issue. The other things that I fixed along the way and stuff had been nice, and they definitely don't hurt anything, but it could have just been this dang ignition module the whole time. So we got a steering wheel remover kit. we got the dang ignition module. We're gonna try removing all this and figure this stuff out and see from there where we can go. Without further ado, I don't think I've ever removed a steering wheel on my own. But today's going to be a first. Also, let me know if you guys like these longer formatted videos. I figure this video is just going to be the culmination of everything of like getting the truck, getting it running and stuff, and we'll go from there and kind of like, but I like how Derek, so this guy that I watch Vice Grip Garage, if you guys are into cars, you probably know who he is. I like his format of how he does it, where they're just longer videos, because they're nice to play while I'm showering or while I'm doing whatever, blah, 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 blah. I wonder if one of these steering wheel pullers would just be useful maybe to just buy at some point. I've used it to pull flywheels and stuff before. At least I think this is the kit I used. Maybe not this exact one, but I think this really shouldn't require that much force to kind of pull off of there from what I was seeing from other people. Yeah, so it's already off. Alright, cool. So that's weird, because this stuff looks in... I can't tell, if I bring you guys around here, I can't really tell if this stuff is just in good shape because it was like enclosed with the steering wheel in front of it and everything, you know? Or if it's in good shape because it was replaced. You know, because it's not really rusty. I see some hair in there. But something had to have been done. Or something. I don't know how the hell it's shortened out. But like, that screw kind of looks like it's been removed before. I don't know if you guys can see that. But these ones, like, you know, you can... That looks like it's been removed before, personally. Like, maybe this turn signal thing was replaced. Because that yellow doesn't match the yellow of the rest of it. So, alright, we have the steering wheel off. That's what we had set out to accomplish. I truly wonder if I could have just pulled that off. Or like, use a slide hammer or something crazy, you know. So, you know, my one fear whenever I take stuff apart is, am I going to be able to put it back together? Need to get this thing clip out of here. So my pair of these removers is all in shambles, unfortunately. Yeah, this definitely looks old. Hopefully we can tell 100% why it is the way it is. I like being able to tell that I'm not just throwing money at things. Alright, so the truck will turn over. It now has power to a lot of things it didn't have power to before, and it's not blowing the breaker anymore. Plus, I have this orange wire connected, and it's actually working. I don't know if you guys heard, but I was turning it over by jumping the solenoid. For some reason, the solenoid's not getting power currently, which I'm gonna have to mess with tomorrow, but it is very cold. So I think for now, we're gonna call it a night. But we made progress. We got the new ignition switch into it. It didn't start fire like it did yesterday. So we're making progress. It's not running yet. It's taking a little bit longer, but also you guys have to realize that I haven't bought a vehicle to get running yet. I rebuilt one motor, but it didn't have electrical stuff. So this electrical stuff and all that's kind of the first for me personally. So I'm making progress. Now all we need to do is figure out why those things don't have power. It also doesn't have spark, but I assume whatever's preventing it from giving power to the dang starter solenoid is also preventing power from getting to the coil and everything as well, which is preventing yada yada yada, so on and so forth. So I'm going to clean my tools up for the night and go inside because it is freezing, as I said, and then we will work on it tomorrow. But we're making progress little by little. So it's another day. It's snowy out today. It's cold. It's like 20 degrees or below. It's not as cold as the northern states, you know, where we come from and all, but it is cold nonetheless. So the other day we got the new ignition switch installed, which I think you guys all saw, or maybe I explained it. But we got the ignition switch on. More lights in here have came on than I've ever gotten on before. The horn works, the tachometer, the like backlight for it comes on and everything. It seems that we're doing well, like we're on the right track, we're very close. When I turn the switch, it used to blow the automatic breaker, the automatic resetting breaker in there that I had. It's not currently doing that anymore, which is good. Which means nothing shorted out. It was a bad ignition. I was able to connect that other fusible link, the orange fusible link in there, and I will replace them all with fusible links, or the maxi fuse, not the maxi fuse, but the square, they're called J case, I think, or just fusible links. I just need to find the right amperage of them. And the main thing is I don't want to keep buying them just for them to blow and blah, blah, blah. But the issue that we're having now is that the switch is not sending any power out when it's in the start position. Like when it's supposed to be sending power to the starter relay to crank, there's no power coming out from it. Now it's a yellow wire coming from the ignition to an orange wire that goes through the firewall to there. Now I thought maybe the wire somewhere was spliced, or the fusible link, or the block, or whatever, something of that nature, but that's not the case. That orange fusible link that I reconnected, it has power. It's not blowing or anything. And then the switch, when I test this yellow wire coming from here, if you guys can see it, this yellow one right here, there's just no power going to it. So I don't know if there's something I just don't have connected, which I'm thinking. So I'm trying to check the other two fusible links at this current moment. I do have one fuse out of the thing because it seemed like the gauges were grounding out, and I don't think they're supposed to do that, obviously. And I need to look further into it, but I don't see why a gauge fuse should stop it from cranking over. Now, if I jump these wires on this starter relay, it works. So I don't think it's starter relay. And like I said, it's just not getting power to it from the ignition. So I thought this was the alternator one that went through the switch and all, but that's actually not true. This blue one, this thicker blue one, is actually the one that goes to the alternator. And it seems to be good. And this fusible link also seems to be good. This is supposed to be a battery feed, it says. I don't know if maybe it has something to do with the amp meter disconnected, but I don't see why that would be, because it's a shunt type on this truck. On these newer systems, on the older systems, the power ran through the ignition switch, then to the amp meter, then back out to the ballast resistor and all that stuff. On this one, the amp meter should really have nothing to do with that whole system, to be entirely honest. So I'm still a little stumped on what it may be. It's just not putting out power, and we have good voltage. I've been keeping the battery actually on the charger, and right now it's reading 13.3 volts, fully charged and all. So I don't think it's the battery, and obviously when I jump the wires, it works just fine. So we just realistically, it's not the neutral switch. Like I said, there's just not power coming from the ignition switch. So the main thing that I'm trying to track down right now is why is there no power coming from the ignition switch. All right, this is a lot of days into our project of Eli over here trying to get it running and stuff. So I took the old ignition module off. I did some testing on it and everything, and it didn't seem like it was doing what it needed to do. There wasn't electricity flowing through it to the coil and all that stuff. And I think that it was giving us issues, and the reason that we couldn't get spark. Now, we don't necessarily just have a spark issue. We have an issue where it's not cranking either from the key. We replaced the ignition switch, it fixed a lot of the issues, but it still didn't fix the cranking situation. A lot of things work now, windshield wipers, all that stuff. I still don't have the heater on. And I'm not sure if that's a disconnect somewhere. And with the way the temperatures and stuff are right now, whenever we do get it running, we're going to need the heater. But we can worry about that. We need it to run first. So I got another ignition switch just to plug in and turn and see if we can get anything to show. If we cannot get anything to show, and the ignition switch is not the main root of the issue, then we're probably just going to wire like a button up somewhere or something to kind of allow us to turn over the motor, because everything else on it is working. So real quick, let's try hooking this up and see if this changes anything. All right, so we have this new switch connected. I had a bad switch. So that's lovely. That confirms my thing. Plus now we have heat. It doesn't seem to be adjusting. That's what I've been trying to tell everyone. So you heard it. You heard it crank over. Now the bad thing is I'm gonna have to take this dang steering wheel off again. But I knew it! I told everyone that it was the switch. The new switch I had was bad. So that fixes that. We'll take this original switch back. Actually, let's see if we can just get this steering wheel off and maybe... I guess we don't necessarily need that stuff. Let me tell Brittany the good news real quick. Brittany, so slight good news.
What?
Everything I was telling everyone, I got a bad ignition switch. You know how I replaced it the other day?
Yeah.
That one was bad.
Gotcha.
It was partially good, but it was not like it was still partially bad.
Yeah.
So now it will crank just from the key.
Gotcha.
Now I gotta see if it'll spark.
Yeah.
Which that could have actually been the reason it wasn't sparking now too.
Yeah.
So, I told people weren't listening to me. I was trying to tell them I probably had a bad switch. Now I question if I don't know if it's worth putting this back on there. I think we're just gonna put the new, if you guys can see. So here's the old one. They have 5 prongs on here, but it's only supposed to be a 4-prong one, which is kind of interesting. And if you can tell, the back of it's cracked. We're gonna put the new one on regardless, just see if it actually makes a difference or whatnot. That's the old, this is the new. It's just 2 bolts and then connecting the plug up to here, so it's really not a big deal at all. We're just going to, oh, and that one was made in China. Where was this one made? Oh, they both were made in China, so I guess that doesn't really change anything. So for now, where can I set you guys so you guys can actually see? Right there is not too bad. Let's try this out. How in the world? This is not particularly easy to get to. It's the wrong size screw as well. So it is stripped to hell. But I can't do a whole lot about that right now. If it holds, it should be fine. Just gonna get that like that, get this in here, and then we'll tighten them both up. Alright, now with that together, we gotta get that connector back on it. At some point we will just get a new connector for it because the connector is a little screwed up, but for now it should be fine in all reality. Let's just see if there's spark quick. Wherever. There's a connector in here that I disconnected. where is it at? Because I was testing it. It's somewhere. It is somewhere. I think it comes off here. Oh, here. It was right in front of me. Okay. Now that's connected. See if we get any spark. For the moment, we'll turn the key. What's that hit? Okay, I'm still not noticing spark, which not very happy about that, but where could I be going wrong from that aspect? So I did disconnect this. Let's try reconnecting this. I don't know what this wire is for, but it was connected back here. There's a few tests we can check to make sure that that ignition module is working properly. One of them involves unplugging this and then testing between the both of them to make sure that there is voltage. So we're gonna try that. All right, the video I was watching, he said that see, there is not. There isn't voltage coming across there. So now we got it so it'll crank, but we don't got it so there's, yeah, something's not working properly. Only getting 1 volt there. He said it should be half a volt. So there's still something messed up. Okay, so we fixed the no crank issue, but we have not fixed this issue. Either power isn't going through where it needs to, or something. I also need to take that old key switch back up to O'Reilly's tomorrow and get my refund. Now I'm questioning maybe the ECU is not entirely bad, but the nice thing is it's cranking, which I'll take the wins that we can get. But at least we know our neutral ground wire and stuff is working. We just need to figure out why the rest of this stuff is not working. So I guess the first place to start would be this. So this wire goes into that connector. But I guess this could possibly not be grounded well either. Oh yeah, we have to have the key on. Where's my probe at? See, I'm wondering if that's not touching the right point. Okay, so that thing's getting power, and then this wire comes out to the negative side, and then those two wires are supposed to go out to the connector. This wire is pretty cracked up, to be fair, but it being cracked shouldn't stop it from doing what it needs to do. We're gonna tape it up quick. Is that dang ticking? Is that this? It must be this. She go. They're not together well, but they're together. Crank over, all that stuff is working now. The heater's working now. That has power to it. That's what's, I guess, insane to me, is it has power to it. It's just not outputting power to the... Unless the ballast resistor's bad. The ballast resistor could be bad. Which means I have to go up and buy another one. But one way to maybe circumvent that for the moment would be... I just need to see if when you turn it to start, if it has power. Sorry, one second. Mercy. Maybe right there. Okay, you're good to go. It's not sparking. Thank you. All right, so it's a brand new day. This has been like a 2-week project almost now, because the first week I didn't have a whole lot of time. And just trying to learn these systems. I've never revived a vehicle before, so to speak, the way that I'm trying to do with this. So, we have some good news. All right, so yesterday I told you guys the ignition module was, or the ignition switch was bad. The first new ignition switch I got was bad. I'm not fully sure if the original ignition module was bad, but we're going to leave the new one on it. I'd rather kind of be safe than sorry, and at some point, like, I'm going to be driving it like around town and stuff, and I'd prefer it just not blow up at some point. Plus, the original has some cracks in the back of it, so I may keep it as a spare and maybe test at some point just to make sure it works. But for now, I think we'll just move on with what we're doing. So, beyond that though, I finally have spark. So I don't know if it was me disconnecting the tachometer or if it was me disconnecting. There was this green wire that was kind of jumped. I don't know which for sure it was, but now the ignition coil is reading properly. Before, it just had 12 volts all the time. So I actually cleaned off some relays, cleaned off the back of them, because I assume most of these things ground on the frame and all, or on the body, excuse me. So I cleaned those up. I got it seems to be working now. I was able to get spark. I'm not fully sure what condition the rotor is in. And I'm not fully sure how I'm going to get gas to the carburetor, because right now gas is not pumping. and I don't necessarily have a lawnmower gas tank to use at the moment. I used to have gas tanks and things that I could use when I was testing motors out and stuff. So I'm not fully sure how to get gas into the carburetor at this very moment, because we're going to have to get gas there or spray cleaner or something, and you're not supposed to just pour gas down the intake. So I need to figure out fully first how to just get some gas to it. I've not taken the carburetor apart and cleaned it yet. I don't necessarily want to at the moment until I know for sure it needs cleaned. I don't know the last time that it has needed, or the last time it I don't know. I don't really know the last time it's been ran. I don't know if it's ever been taken apart. I don't want to take it apart and destroy the gaskets and not be able to find any today. So I'm going to figure out some way to get some gas to it, whether I have to just buy a little bottle of something and like kind of, you know, connect it to the rubber hose or whatever I end up having to do. But that's kind of what we're going to figure out now. We're going to leave the rotary stuff intact for the moment, like the distributor and all that. And we're going to try to get some gas to the engine first before we do anything else. So I'll keep you guys posted. All right, so with the truck sparking and it cranking from the key and everything, and things appear to be working for the moment, there are a few things I want to do in preparation. So I bought a siphon. I can't quite get gas to pump off of here yet, which actually might be because this hose is kinked really bad down here, actually. So I'm not fully sure how that's going to go, or if this pump is even going to pump in the first place. But I bought a siphon. We're gonna hook the siphon up and just kind of siphon gas into the carburetor. I've not taken it apart yet to clean it, but I did buy some B12 Chem Tool. I'm hoping I can pump some B12 Chem Tool in it and it's not in the worst shape of its life. And I also noticed that the radiator seemed kind of low, so we're gonna fill that up as well. I'm trying to cover all my bases and things, and okay, so it must not have been entirely low. It's dirty, but it smells like cool. Okay. You know, after having a head gasket blow, it's like my biggest fear to have that happen again, so. The oil's a little on the low side, and I was going to just change the oil in it, but I decided to wait for now. I'm not going to feel like changing the oil at this current moment. Plus, until it's registered, I can't really drive it on the road regardless, so is there really a point in changing it in this cold weather? By the time it's registered, we'll change it before we really take it out on the actual road and all. Rather have a little bit too much than a lot too little. All right, so that's all there. All right. Next up on the list, I thought I bought more brake fluid, but I must have forgot. hoping this will fit over the end of that. Okay, so I have backwards, it looks like. See, it. All right, one sec. This was clearly not the most optimal course of action. See if we run this on a shorter path. Okay, I don't know if this is going to work. It'd be very nice if it did. Definitely got a little bit of gas in there. I'm getting gas all over my hands. I just want to get that somewhere where hopefully it won't just fall over. I guess we'll try cranking it. I want to put the new key switch in, but I think we'll crank it the way it is for now, so let's see.
noises.
So we know it runs. It runs great. It idles great. The carburetor I don't even think needs cleaned out, but I don't know what that... It sounds like lifter tick to me. I don't... But it's not quite a ticking, it's kind of a clapping noise. All right, let me mess around with this oil pressure, or this oil, yeah, the oil pressure unit, and see if I can figure out if it actually has oil pressure. All right, in the meantime, I guess, I'm not quite sure what to do about that yet. I filled it with oil and everything. But in the meantime, I think we'll work on getting this thing, steering wheel, the ignition switch all swapped out and all. I don't want to keep leaving it running if it's going to be ticking like that. And I'm just not sure. So we gotta figure that out. Because I don't want to run it and make it worse if it's something small. I added oil to it. Part of me wants to change the oil and see if that changes anything, but I don't really see how it just changing the oil alone would. So I'm just not quite sure at this moment what to do next. And the brakes work. They are spongier than I'd like them to be, but we can bleed those. We can bleed those. And the power steering works real well too.
This thing's got power steering?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't think a truck this old would have power steering.
Well, and see, this is the base model from my understanding, but it has a lot of extras, like it has air conditioning. Well, it's supposed to. The AC compressor's off of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this turns easier than the...
Man, we're going 1,000 miles an hour. Just keep your eye on the heat gauge.
Yeah.
You know, see what it's doing there.
This steering wheel turns easier than my truck's does.
I don't know why that doesn't surprise me. I mean, even if it didn't have power steering, I just assumed that the wheel was still easy.
True. I wish I knew if that thing, the oil pressure was accurate, but I'm gonna assume it is. It wasn't going that far before.
I don't know how you can check to know if it is.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's why I was worried about at first, that the lifter was because there wasn't any oil pressure. like underneath the bed.
Yeah. Yeah. Now let's see what the ticking sounds like.
All right.
It should be good.
It's not ticking at all. Part of me had thought that, but I kind of wanted someone else to confirm.
Yeah, like I said, when I crank my white cars up in the morning sometimes, they get full.
Gotcha.
You can also get one of those laser sets and just shoot the motor and see what it's reading at.
Gotcha. So I'm taking one more trip with it by myself real quick before Jeremy heads out and all. He's staying at my house in case I do need pulled back or something. This is like, it feels good. It feels real good when you get a tractor started, because you guys know how much I love working on tractors. But this might be the coolest thing I've purchased and got running. You know what I'm saying? Like, all the work over the past week, because I've put countless hours into it this week, as you guys have seen in the video and all. It's just, this is something else. I don't know. The tick went away. As you guys saw, there's not really any lifter tick or anything anymore. Like Jeremy said, it may have just needed to be driven a little. So we'll change the oil probably next day or so. Change the oil, maybe put some STP or something of that nature in it, some Marble Mystery Oil in it, or some Seafoam just to clean it out. We're gonna go with cheap oil for now, because I'd like to change it maybe within the first 1,000 or 2,000 miles, just to see if we can flush some more stuff out of it. But the power steering, like I was telling Jeremy, it works great. I won't lie, I was debating on selling it. After all the work I've been putting into it, just couldn't figure it out, the ignition switch just wouldn't work. I was seriously considering just selling it once I got it running, but I don't think I can do that. It reminds me too much of my grandfather. He never had a bigger, like, I guess what would become a Ram like this, but he always had old Dodge trucks. Growing up, he had this little red 19, it was either an 87 or an 89, I think it was an 87, Dodge Dakota. It had the 4-cylinder motor in it. It had the 5-speed manual, I think it was 5-speed, not 4. I could be wrong. It was red. He always had this camper shell on the back of it. It was just, I love that truck as a kid. That's why I got my gray Dakota I had last year. And I love Dakotas and all, but I wanted something with an automatic. That's why I ended up getting my Sierra. I wanted nothing more than like a 2500 Cummins, like a 90s model, because I love that body style and all. But they're too expensive, and I'd have to get a manual or get an automatic, knowing that it's going to need rebuild at some point, if it hadn't already been. And they're too much money. So I ended up doing some research, getting my 99 Sierra. I love those 5.3 motors. They're very reliable. People say lots of good things about them. They have a decent amount of power. Mine isn't the upgraded one with like the newer one that has nearly 300 horsepower. Mine has like 270 or something like that, but my truck's been amazing. We towed my grandfather's 8N back from Ohio and stuff. We towed my grandfather's Bravely back and all that stuff with it. We've made 2 trips to Ohio with the Sierra, one time hauling 4,000 pounds or so on the way back through the mountains and everything. That truck's been incredible. But my truck is, which I'm very grateful for, it's very modern, if that makes sense. I kind of wanted something with that older feeling to it. The circular gauges, the old metal single cab. I just wanted something like that to have. So I'll probably go back and forth between them, and then at some point I'd like to bring my grandfather's Dakota down here. I fixed the braking system and stuff on it and all. He had never gotten to drive it regularly in the last few years of his life, unfortunately. We were working on it the time we went to Ohio before he got sick and passed away. And I found the parts for it, got all new lines put on it. At least the lines that are broken. I'd like to put all new lines on she is now running. Well, Eli. I'm naming it Eli after my grandfather's father. From what my mom said, he had one just like it. So I think for now we're gonna name it Eli. But Eli is running. Eli has taken 3 trips up the road already. Eli's a little crooked right now because the way I parked the Charger and all, but it runs great. It starts up, the automatic choke and everything's working. It's even charging. I checked the charging system inside and it's charging great. It starts right back up. The choke seems to be working properly. It runs great. I guess I won't fully know how much power it has till I get it out on the road, but for now I've taken up the road 3 times or so. I need to wait for my registration and stuff to get done and take care of all that to legally get it out on the road. I still need to vacuum out the inside. Yeah, I need to vacuum out the inside. We're gonna get a seat cover for the seat and all. I haven't put that back on yet because I need to figure out how I'm going to get that to work properly again. They kind of drilled a hole in it and used a button, and that's how they connected it. All it does is touch them 2 wires together, but I don't like that. I want the original kind of horn back into it. So even if I have to get one of those from a parts truck, I was going to get a factory radio for it, and I will at some point maybe get one of them factory ones. They update it with Bluetooth and all, but I think for now I'm just going to find a cheap car stereo on Facebook, like an old Pioneer or something with Bluetooth in it. Just put it there, and I think door speakers are supposed to go right here, so I think we'll put some speakers back in there just so we can have a little boom boom, as the guy Derek I watch says. The heat works great. It's pretty warm in here, all things considered. The temp gauge works. I believe the oil pressure gauge works. I don't think the gas gauge is working, but I won't know until I can fill up the tank. It looks like we've driven about 4 miles or so, 4 or 6 miles or so far. But yeah, I need to check if the gas tank gauge works. And the amperage gauge, the volt gauge, or the amp gauge, I think it's an amp meter, but this is a shunt type, so it's not wired in. I need to figure out how I need to wire that in and connect it with the alternator and everything. But like I said, the alternator is working, so I'm not even super concerned with that. I need to see if that green wire is what was causing the issue on the coil, and put that back, because it would be kind of nice to have the tachometer working. But it's not a requirement. It would be kind of nice just to have it. Windshield wiper and the lights work. The switch, I need to put a new connector on one of them because I pulled it off by accident, but the brights work. This needs to be zip tied back up there. The brakes need bled still. The horn and all that stuff. And then I have the Ooga horn from my grandfather's old Dakota. He never put it on his new Dakota. He said there wasn't space in the engine compartment. I was going to put it on my Sierra, but I think it would fit better on this truck. So I think we'll put the Ooga horn on here. It'll be super easy to wire in and everything. So I think I don't know if that'll be next video, but that will be in a video. The heat works, like I said. The vent changes. The only thing is the fan speed isn't changing, so I need to figure out what the cause of that is. The glove box doesn't fully open properly. I'm going to get a seat cover for it for the moment, but at some point I would like to reupholster the seat. I just don't really feel like going through all that right now. We're going to put new carpet in. It looks like it just had the rubber mats to begin with, but there's holes in the floor, like right here you can see. So my buddy Jeremy, he welds and all. We're going to cut these pans out and put new floor pans in it at some point. That's not an immediate necessity. The speedometer also doesn't work, so maybe if I could figure out a solution for that. They're just minor things. With it running, who really cares? That stuff is easy. At some point I'll get him to tint these windows and everything as well. And then as for the outside will remain mostly the same for now. We are going to get that toolbox out of there because I'm not the biggest fan of it, and I don't put my tools and stuff like that. So we'll take the toolbox out. At some point we'll use the 8N to get it out because I assume it's heavy. Just because I want the full use of the bed space, and then we'll clean this bed out. This blanket's from me. It's a moving blanket. I use it when I'm laying on the ground and stuff. So next video you guys can look forward to. We'll change the oil in it. We'll change the rear axle fluid at some point. Maybe it'll be next video. We'll hopefully get a radio to wire up in it, and we'll hopefully take it out on its first drive on the actual road and everything. But for now, I'm happy to say it runs. It seems to have oil pressure. The ticking's gone. The carburetor seems in good shape. It idles properly. It sounds good. We'll go from there. So I really thank you guys for watching. I'm really happy with all that we accomplished in the past week or so with this truck. Considering 2 weeks ago it didn't run. It hasn't ran in about a year, and it runs great now. It sounds great. It doesn't shake. It doesn't seem to miss. It's awesome. It's probably one of my proudest achievements that I've captured, at least so far. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you're looking forward to part 2, let me know down in the comments below. If you like this style of video and the length and all, be sure to let me know as well and what you'd like to see me do next. After this, we'll probably go back to just doing tractors and stuff for a little while, but I don't need any more vehicles. But I'll see you guys later.